Double duty here on Broncos country today as the Denver Broncos have moved on from starting quarterback, much maligned. You either loved him or you hated him. Russell Wilson is gone. And the question becomes, what's next? And to answer that question of what's next, we really need to actually dive down and dissect into why did this happen and what is the true reason that Russell Wilson was moved to the bench. We have conflicting reports out there, and we are going to get to the bottom, or at least try to get to the bottom of it in those conflicting reports. So all along in this entire season, as we've been on that 5-game run, that winning streak, everyone in the comments who was guarded was just saying like, hey, this is fun, but we're not going to make a deep playoff run with Russell Wilson. Ben, get off of it. Stop having all this hope. He can't be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And I believed I got what you're saying. Like I was picking up what you were putting down, but I felt because everything I had read was that we had signed him to this massive, massive deal. We couldn't move off of it without having this dead cap money that is handcuffing our organization, that literally $40 million per year or $87 million in one lump sum you basically pay and you just waste for someone to not be on your team. So everyone was saying like, yeah, we could move on from Russ, but that means we probably cut Simmons and Cortland Sutton, and then we don't have Russ either. And so I was like really discouraged about that. I think we might have an out from that, and we're going to dive into that as well. But let's look here at the discrepancy first. So why did we do this, and why did we do this now? So I thought this was really interesting, something that came across Bleacher Report, and that is that as I think the high point of all of our season was that game when I got to have my son on for the first time in his life. The Denver Broncos beat the Kansas City Chiefs, first time in 7 years. Well, right after that, supposedly some officials approached Russell Wilson and said, hey, you have to get off of your injury guarantee that locks us into that $37 million. And if you don't do it, we're benching you. So all along, I've heard that the reason Russell Wilson is being benched, and the reason he's being benched tomorrow, or today rather, is because we are afraid of him being injured and then not only having dead cap money for 2 years, but actually 3 years. It would push that year you have to pay him out an extra year. So that made sense to me. And even the video I broke today, I said, we're doing this because we are out of the playoffs. I know we're not out, but we're out of the playoffs, and we don't want Russell Wilson to get hurt in his last 2 games of meaningless football and then be on the hook to pay him another year. Well, that is an interesting theory, but if you actually watch what Sean Payton said in this press conference today, he says you can speculate all you want about money, but if it was about money, we would have done it a couple of weeks ago. We did this because it's about winning, and this isn't. I think the other thing that makes this not necessarily about money and about winning, I think Sean Payton and the upper brass think they cannot win with Russell Wilson. They actually think Jarrett Stidham gives them the best chance at winning now. So that's kind of mind-blowing to think about. If you look at some of, you go and watch Kyle Sloter, who was one of our backup quarterbacks for a while. He has a YouTube channel where he breaks down Russell Wilson film way better than I ever could as a former quarterback, and he just shows all of the middle of the field that this guy is missing over and over and over again. Todd Davis had an amazing breakdown on DNVR the other day. I'll link both of those in the show notes, but you just kind of can maybe see what they're saying there, that like this isn't about just saving money, but instead this is about who is the best quarterback moving forward for us. And we know when if you watch, Colin Cowherd had a great opening segment today where he talks about we went out and our first move, Sean Payton's first move as coach, was to sign a backup quarterback in Jarrett Stidham, who came in and did the exact same thing he's about to do for us. Derek Carr, they sent Derek Carr home the last couple games as a Raider last year and said, hey, we don't want to pay you if you get injured. You're not in our long-term plans, so go home. And Stidham came in and balled out, and I think he threw 3 touchdowns against San Francisco in his first game. So maybe Stidham truly is our best chance at winning. Maybe that is what it's about. It's very odd to me that if this was about not being locked into paying him in case of an injury, Well, why is he still practicing? We saw Tim Patrick tear ACL 2 years ago in practice, tear his, the Achilles tendon this year in practice. You see players get hurt all the time in practice. And so if this was really about not wanting to be locked into Russ's injury, then I think we would have sent him home, not activated. He's dressing for the game on Sunday. So truly, I think this is about Sean Payton believing that Stidham might be our best chance at winning. Well, then this is a fairly interesting little tidbit here. This is Russell Wilson's most recently liked tweet. And you could always claim that he accidentally liked this tweet, but basically what he did was he liked this tweet that is basically saying like, hey, Russell Wilson actually is outplaying the MVP of the league, Patrick Mahomes, yet he's getting benched. I really like this. I like the fire in Russell Wilson because I think the biggest hope for Broncos country, if you're a praying person and you think God intervenes with prayers for Broncos, which I don't believe he cares about football, but you should pray that the Denver Broncos find a trade partner for Russell Wilson. If the Broncos find a trade partner for Wilson, I will be thrilled to death. I won't even be upset about the draft capital we gave up. I won't even be upset about these 2 years because I will be so relieved that we don't have 2 years of cap purgatory. If we don't find a way to move off of Russell Wilson, we're going to see some cuts here that are going to be pretty hard to manage. There's no way we can continue to pay the guys we want and just cover $87 million over 2 years of dead cap space. So let's hope we find a trade partner for Russell Wilson. You saw when the Colts were able to, the Eagles were able to move on from Carson Wentz and the Colts picked up a ton of that cap hit. We've seen it happen before, so that is really what we need to hope for. So a couple of the landing spots that I think could be very interesting, and I would love to see Russ go there, and I'd love to see him succeed there. The first one I think that could be very interesting for him would be Pittsburgh Steelers. There's no doubt that Mike Tomlin is the captain of that ship. He is a steadying force. He wouldn't be intimidated by Russell Wilson's leadership or any of that. And that team has a very solid identity of like, we're a hard-nosed football team. We're going to run the ball and we'll pass it on third down if we need it. And you can be like, Big Ben wasn't an on-time passer. He was floating around back there, letting guys bounce off of him, finding open dudes at the last second on miraculous plays. You could easily see Russell Wilson stepping in and doing that. So I would love it. I'd even be willing to give Pittsburgh a second or third round draft pick to take Russell Wilson's contract and not have to have the dead cap hit. The next one that's really, really interesting is could Sean Payton find a way to get Russell Wilson to Atlanta? Atlanta has a great skill position squadron there. They got Bijan Robinson. They have an incredible tight end in Pitts. They drafted a wide receiver super high. They have a good offensive line. They have an identity. And if you just look at them this year, it just seemed like they were a quarterback away. And while Russell Wilson wasn't a quarterback that could lift our team, I think they have a lot more skilled positions there, and they might just be naive enough to want to pick him up. And then the last one, this one I think could really happen. They have a new owner there. They just benched their quarterback, and that shows like they're off of Sam Howell. That thing's over. And when it came down to people who wanted Russ early on, the Commanders, at the time they were the Redskins, really, really wanted him. I believe he grew up right around that area, and I could see him heading back there to finish his career. I would love to see. I don't want his last play in the NFL to be that garbage Hail Mary where we lost all playoff contention. I have nothing but the best hopes for Russell Wilson. So way in Broncos country, do you think this was because of wanting to get off of the injury clause to not have to pay Russell Wilson long-term, or was this because Sean Payton actually believes that Jared Stidham gives us a better chance to win and make the playoffs? Very, very curious. We got so much to break down. We're right at 10 minutes. I could have gone for like 25. I got Russell Wilson news for days, and I have a whole list of people who I think could end up playing quarterback for the Broncos next year. That all is going to hinge upon what we do with Russ. If we have to sit on Russ, we have to cut him, meaning we eat that $87 million, we can choose to do that in 1 year or divide it over 2 years. But again, where we are not going to sign a free agent. There's no way we could figure out a way to pay Kirk Cousins and a dead cap hit for Russell Wilson. So our chances of a free agent quarterback are off the table if we have to cut Russell Wilson. If we can find a trade partner for him, everything is back on the table. A lot of exciting stuff there. So hope you are along for the ride, Broncos country. We will catch you next time.